And we're joined here by Papa L.
Oh yeah, dude, that's what they call me, bro. Totally.
Yes,
Yo, quick note,
yes.
quick note. Matt, did you have any nicknames in like elementary or like middle school?
I got a couple, and they were mostly hurtful ones.
Oh
But
no,
I
no.
can, we can talk about it. I was kind of a corpulent fellow,
Oh yes, corpulent. What
and
what a nice word. That's a dictionary
hmm
word of the day right there. Corpulent.
hmm
Wow.
hmm look it up if you don't know it. But I was called pork chop by members of my family primarily.
Why?
Just because I was chubby, like a pork
Wow.
chop, I guess.
Damn, I'm sorry to hear that, Matt.
No, it was all right. I owned it, and on like sports teams, I was kind of known as like Big Matty,
Oh
Big
yeah,
Matt.
Big Matt.
But I will say, like my mass that I had kind of benefited me in certain ways. Like baseball, I was like a dinger
I
machine.
believe it. Yeah.
Basketball, just the kids they couldn't handle me um, in the paint.
Oh yeah, dude.
So there you go. How about you, Alec? Were you
Uh,
affectionately
well, you know what my middle?
named
Do you know what my
anything?
middle name is?
Alfred.
No. Imagine.
Just kidding. I definitely do know it, but not at the
It's
moment.
Jacob. My parents
Jacob,
specifically
yes,
gave me
yes.
the middle name Jacob because it was a really big thing in like the early 2000s to like or late 90s, like early 2000s to have like a two-letter like nickname and that was like your name.
AJ
So my parents
was the plan.
wanted me to be AJ. So they used to call me AJ all like people used to call me AJ all the time, which is fucking awful. I hated the
I
name.
didn't know that.
I hate it. Still, a lot of people in my family still call me AJ, and it really bugs me. I'm like, well,
That
I just can't lose it now, I guess.
that kind of like really shifts my whole perception of you. To be honest,
Yeah, dude, I'm an
you're
AJ.
not an AJ.
They tried to get it to pick up, like,
You're an
catch on
Alec.
with people in like elementary school, because they were like DJs, TJs, BJs, BJ. No, I'm kidding.
Uh,
But
a lot of those.
nah, I hated it as a kid, so I just stuck with Alec. And then I got so annoyed with it, I told my parents, I was like, maybe I'll just go by Al instead, because it's like such a gross sounding name. Like, it's kind of funny, right? Just getting called Al. Like, it's so greasy. And so then that one I actually caught on with all the rest of my friends, which I think is so funny. So now my parents hear me called Al, and they're like, why do people call you that? Kind of funny.
I think it does suit you, and
Yeah.
that's kind of shocking that people still call you. Do your parents or anyone in your
Yeah, they'll call me that
immediate
every
family
once
call
in a
you?
while. Yeah, they will. No, really, it's crazy.
Hilarious.
So don't
I have
call me
to
AJ,
drop.
please.
I think
Yeah, you know
I'm
what?
gonna
You
have to
should do it
drop a couple
sometime.
AJs.
You should do it sometime because everyone will be super confused. Only you
Yeah,
know, unless people we know actually see the podcast sometime, they'll never know.
I think you're right about that. I think I might sprinkle in a couple AJs here and there.
That'd be hilarious if you did that. Now I think about it, because
Keep
no one
keep
knows. Like
people
you're
on their
like the only
toes.
one that knows.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm
eh,
honored.
yeah,
Feel free to call me pork chop or whatever the
pork
hell.
chop, pork chop. Nah, I prefer Mellow Mike. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Uh, anyways, though, you wanna talk about why we're making a podcast in the first place, Matt?
real quick, let's do an Artemis update. From the last episode.
Oh
They
yeah, 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 yeah.
we're gonna launch that bad boy.
Look at
But
us, humanity.
it did not get launched. It did not.
Why not?
The worldly powers of the weather stopped it, and yeah,
Classic
it was like a
ozone
big
layer, bro.
storm.
Classic ozone layer.
It was a big storm, Florida. I don't know
Dude,
why they
no,
chose Florida.
there was a massive storm that swept through South Carolina for like a bit too. Like our power went out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet it hit you too. The same storm.
Yeah.
Um, Power went out. What did you do with yourself, man?
Well, we have backup generators, which was
Oh,
actually my idea. I
that's
told my
dope.
parents about that. I'm like, yeah, nah. I remember they weathered like a hurricane the first like couple months they were here, and I was like, you guys are stupid. You need to buy backup generators. And then eventually they listened to me,
Yeah, that's
and it's
freaky.
been a major help. So
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with stuff like that in an emergency. So good call.
exactly, yeah.
But yeah, they postponed it to Saturday.
Wow,
So mark your calendars. First NASA launch in a while,
that's crazy.
indeed.
Well,
But yeah, we could chat about it. Podcast.
yeah. Why are
And
we doing a podcast, Matt?
why are we doing a podcast?
Yes.
Well, I believe we covered this a little bit in episode -1.
True. Or
Um,
zero, whatever.
just that, I think we're two entertaining individuals,
Mm-hmm.
and the more that we chat, the greater entertainment I receive, and we gotta share that with others
Yeah,
if
and
possible. Yeah, yeah.
and I feel like it helps us become better, people in general. But I meant more like who's your muse, Matt? Like what like generated this idea in your brain where you texted me one
Hmm.
day and you're like, Alec, we should do a podcast. What'd you say?
Yes. So for most of my life, I've just never really considered podcasts as a form of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, when am I gonna? I mean, I'm a very busy person. When can I find time to? I thought podcasts were like you just kind of sat and stared at space, and then you like listened to this,
Uh-huh.
looking at nothing. I'm like, well, I'd rather watch a video. At least there's a physical, like a visual medium too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then most of my waking day was replaced with doing on occasion pretty tedious tasks, and I thought that it'd be enjoyable to have some enrichment going through my ears at the same time as I'm doing this task. So
Yeah.
I kind of explored different podcasts and landed on a couple favorites that, you know, a big thing for me is that I want to be able to zone out
Yeah,
and
yeah, but
kind of
still
kind of
listen.
get, yes, zone out, listen, learn, and then reach like a flow state with my work. That's when I'm at my best, and like not like 100% thinking about what I'm doing, just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I found that I work the best, and landed on a couple heaters, and like my muse, hate to say it, is Logan Paul, the Paul
Logan
brothers.
Paul.
That's who got me. Kind of got the spark in my mind that this can be an enjoyable form of entertainment, just like anything other. And they have that podcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Impulsive is what it's called. Big shout out!
Impulsive. Oh my
Big
God.
shout out to
You're a
Impulsive.
Paul fan, Matt. You're a Paul guy. You
No, I
do
actually
you uh do
find
you do
that
you watch their boxing matches?
I did as like a joke when we were at school, and they were, had like they're first were starting to do those, and then he was
Uh-huh.
like boxing like KSI and like other stuff like that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But of the podcast, he has a couple guests or co-hosts, and I find that he is the least enjoyable of the crew to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
His co-hosts bring a lot to the table, and I find this to be very stimulating. Um, but they also bring in a lot of guests, a lot of like very topical people that are very entertaining too. One of them in recent memory is Liver King. I don't know if we talked about him
Oh
ever.
yeah, yeah. We I think we briefly touched on him, but you can talk about it
Hmm.
some more. He's crazy, dude.
Yeah, he just is preaching a return to monkey,
Return to
and
monkey. With food
says
though,
that
specifically, and exercise, I guess.
yeah, his whole kind of lifestyles around it, like it's like as much as you can, or like that's what he claims. But yeah, the food is a big one. Just raw meats,
Yep.
the liver,
Yep.
testicles, the whole 9 yards.
Dude, it just would not taste good. There's no way that would taste good at all.
Yeah, like because it's raw, or like that it's like
It's got no
lard.
flavor.
He
Like what?
does stuff
Blood is
to it.
blood the flavor? Like if you have a
He
bloody
puts it.
steak, like that's tasty. I'll admit you got the juices in there, but
Mhm.
like like I don't understand what nutrients you're cooking out of the meat. Is that like a thing?
I That's actually one of the things that I want to research more into
Yeah.
is like, yeah, why don't you just cook it? And I think you like do lose stuff. And something that he talked about that's pretty interesting too. He was like, when you eat a certain body part from like a beef from a cow,
Yeah.
the nutrients from that part go directly to enhancing your own part. Like eating the brain has
All right. I don't
nutrients
know.
that your brain
I
needs.
just do not believe that for I do not believe that at all. I feel like that just destroys basic science. That's some mythological bullshit. I'll have to look that up. There is no way you're telling me right now that if you eat brains, you get smarter. Disagree. Like you eat brains,
I'm just
you
saying what
like
he's
turn into
saying.
Einstein. Like, oh shit, this shit all makes sense now, bro. You're telling me right now that if you eat testicles, you get bigger balls. You get you get. Bro, you tell me right now, you can like, oh dude, I'll eat the fucking like hammy of the cow. You eat the hammy of the cow, and now what? You got a bigger hamstring, dude? No, that's not how that is not how eating works. This is not
Then
it.
how did he get so big? Steroids?
Cause
Perhaps?
the guy is clearly on T, bro. He is turting the fuck out, bro. He's just like absolutely roided out of his mind. The
Yeah,
man's insane.
he's on T testicles, bro. He's just
He's on that
popping them.
testosterone, bro.
Yeah,
But
but
it's still
anyway,
interesting though. Still
it
interesting
is an
guy.
interesting idea. It
I'll
is
have
an
to look that
interesting
up.
idea.
Maybe there's scientific evidence there. You never know.
Well, it's well known that like liver is like one of the best things you can eat, just because it's like packed of like every vitamin, nutrient, or whatever. I do know that to be a fact. Although I don't remember the last time I ate liver.
I've never ate liver.
My parents like to say that they're like, Dad used to make them eat liver and stuff. It's very mid 1900s thing, liver.
Wow.
But anyway, from impulsive, I went to other podcasts of
Mhm.
a similar realm. One of them, it's not very intellectual, but I occasionally like tuning into, Barstool,
Oh, of course.
like the
Classic.
entertainment company.
Of
They
course.
host a ton of podcasts. And there's a couple that I like, and their whole thing is that it's just guys, friends, riffing and just talking. And I find that their conversations are somewhat similar to ones that I have with my friends, and
I mean, yeah,
just kind of
yeah. It's a chill vibe.
that
Casual.
listening environment is good for zoning out, like I said. So that's what I enjoy from those.
That's pretty neat.
Um, but yeah, I haven't really gotten into like, I guess you could say like intellectual pursuits while doing podcasts, just because like I think it would take too much of my brain if I was like
Mhm.
listening to like a book or like something that was providing information that required like a good deal of thought or something. So I don't know. That's what I get from these at the moment. How
Dude,
about you?
I remember I didn't really know much about podcasts. I mean, I always knew like my grandparents grew up listening to radio shows. Like that was a huge deal back in the day. You wouldn't watch TV or you'd throw it on your radio in the car and listen to like a radio show at a scheduled time. Which is basically the podcast has turned into that, but you get all the episodes pre-downloaded and recorded, which is really nice.
Yeah, point to that, Alec. Can you like? It's very kind of a funny image where like the whole family would be like gathered around the
Yeah.
radio and just like
Like the big
looking
ass,
at.
like it was like a tower, dude. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It'd be
took
like
up
the
half
mega
the
speaker.
goddamn
It had like
room.
a subwoofer. It was like the whole deal, dude. But they would always make them look like articulate, like these very fancy like cabinets, like a very point, like a poignant style. You know, it was like a
I
very
felt like everything used to look.
yeah, and
They
it's kind
love
of cool.
doing shit
It's
like
it's
that.
like cars too, but the thing is that people started realizing that the functionality of the device was more important than the style of it at the end of the day. So that's why all these cars used to look like super cool back in the day, and then they all stopped, and people were like, "Why?" And it's because they were literally just tin death traps, dude. Flying
You're
down
talking
the
about like
road 60 miles an
60s.
hour with no
The
safety precautions or seatbelts, you die immediately. It was
seatbelts
bad.
gonna be out of your goddamn mind.
But
Yeah, something like this is exactly what I had in my mind right now.
yeah.
Let me flip my camera.
Oh yeah, that's
You know,
exactly what I was thinking about. Yeah. So for the viewers that can't see this, it's like a little like half cylinder. At the end of the day, it's kind of a phallic image. It's kind of
yeah,
it's like
it
a
does have a
door. It's
clearly
like a
defined
door, but it's
head.
got kind of like the speaker like at the top, and it's got a bunch of knobs towards the bottom. It just kind of stands in the house. Like it's got to be like
Well,
a couple feet tall.
hate to break it to you, but this is actually not an antique itself. It is brought to you by Amazon for
Boo.
$69.99. It could be yours.
Well, obviously, dude,
The
because it's phallic, bro. It's got to be 69.99.
uh, so
Oh, hey,
yeah,
that's my
I don't
old
know.
keyboard. No way. Yeah, how's that
That's my
treating you, by
current
the
one
way?
now. What?
How's the keyboard treating you?
Very well.
That's good.
I just kind of have it set up now in my basement. The Red Dragon.
Yep.
Very very clicky. In fact, when Jack and Jason came over to play music sometime this summer, Jack himself commented on the pleasant sound that the keyboard uh, making
Yeah.
was making with each stroke. So
I used that
just
one
notes
throughout
Jack
high school.
approved.
Yeah, I've used that throughout high school. It's great. Not as great as my keyboard though, but anyways, I'm getting off topic. I was talking about podcasts. The first podcast that I listened to was because my mom we were driving down to Colorado, and my mom and my sister on the way back, they didn't want to listen to music, and I was like, "Okay." So they decided to put on a podcast called Serial. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was like
Is
really
it about
popular a couple
killers
years ago.
or
So it's
frosted
about like
flakes?
basically what happened was that there were a bunch of these high schoolers, and like there was this one innocent like kid, or she did like nothing wrong, and she just ended up missing, and they like found her body like buried in like a park, and it took forever for people to find them. They just kind of found her by pure chance, like in
Is this a
Atlanta.
true
Like,
story?
yeah, this is true. This is all real. They like dug up her body outside of a park in Atlanta, Georgia. And like the thing is that she was like surrounded by a crowd of a bunch of really like smart intellectual people. And I think his name was David. He was like the guy that got jailed because they thought that all the evidence pointed to him because he was like into her, but then they had like some kind of conflict like the night prior, and then he got up and left somewhere. But the story starts taking a bunch of interesting turns because everyone has a different perspective of the story. Like her friends are like, yeah, David was like insane. But then his friends were like, nah, David was just having a tough time with school. Like he was like student body president. He was like trying to be like a national merit scholar. Like he was just dealing with a lot, and his girlfriend was like starting to do drugs, and he just didn't approve, and like all this stuff. So like it's just really interesting because it's like the story is told by someone who had no part in any of this, but just like read the news, and she just started doing research, and she talked to David like on the phone, like he would talk from his jail cell, and like always talk about
Oh,
how he was innocent and how he wanted to
he's
retry the
incarcerated.
case, and that like eventually though like during the whole process they found like this takes place over weeks, but I just listened to it through a car, so like it was already finished. I think they eventually came back around to it, but basically, like, they found new evidence. Somehow, this lady just happens to find new evidence for the case. Like, it was like a specific phone call. Like, somehow they got all this, like, stuff. Like, they interviewed parents,
When did
the
this happen?
kids.
When
Like, this
was
happened in
the
the late 2000s, I'm pretty sure. So,
okay,
David's been in
okay.
prison, and then, like, the podcast, I think, was in, like, 2015, 2016. So, David is in prison for a minute, dude. So, like, poor guy, like, or maybe not, because he does seem kind of sus based off of some of the stuff. So it's always like you're trying to determine based off the new evidence that they provide, like, who do you think actually killed her? Like, who did it? And it's kind of like that human fascination with death, but also just
Who
like
done it?
you can, yeah, who done it? You see both sides for like David, like the main guy that was shown, but like all the other people. And then there's also just like creepy old, like this creepy old dude that they brought into the mix that was like somehow involved in her life. That was like kind of like a stalker, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? It's crazy. But they eventually like
Oh,
tried
it was
retrying.
David.
Yeah, they eventually tried retrying the case, and I don't think that it went far enough for them to like do anything else, unfortunately. But I think it's still an interesting listen. I like that. That was Serial. There was another one that I listened to. This was on a drive to Colorado. This is actually really funny. This was during COVID. So my brother and I were like, okay, we'll just we got like an Airbnb in Colorado because we were just bored, and we just like hiked around because no one was really out doing anything. So we were like away from people. And
It's a good place to be during COVID.
yeah, it was for like a week.
Like,
But when we
yeah,
drove out there, he showed me this podcast called Hardcore History, which is told by a
I
historian.
am familiar with that. Yes,
Yeah,
one. That's
it's told by a
very popular
historian
one.
who tries to put no bias towards history, because as he always likes to say, and it is true, history is always told by the victors, Matt. So the
100%.
the one that I was specifically listening to was the Romans versus the Gauls, which was one of the first recorded genocides in human history. Um, Basically, there were just a bunch of these people living in Germany, like the Gauls, and then there were the Romans,
Hmm.
and the Romans wanted to take control of Germany, like the German area.
Yeah, it's like the biggest strife in early
Yeah,
human
and
civilizations.
basically they just went in and eradicated just all these people. But it's just like all of the different stories that he tells about how they like utilized different like ways of how they battle planned based off of like trails. They would set up like barricades with like wagons and stuff like that that they had for carrying materials. They had these massive cavalry ranks. I mean, like the Gauls, like at one point, like set up this massive base so they couldn't be defeated by the Romans. Where they like had these, like they were literally cutting down entire trees, and the trees were turned into massive spikes that they buried deep into the earth and like surrounded their base. And then they built like a moat, like a trench in the middle with the filled it with a bunch of spikes. Then they built an even bigger wall on the outside and had another trench with even more like they're using traps, like they have like pitfalls and stuff. Like it's crazy.
And
And
they're
they
trying to survive.
yeah, and like the thing is the Romans were trying to starve them out, right? But somehow they
Hmm.
just kept getting food from like the other side from like how the thing was built. But eventually the Romans decided to invade, but they only did it when they had a key advantage at night, because the moon, the way that the moon shone for them was an advantage for them, but the other side couldn't see. Which is crazy that they utilized
Huh.
stuff like that back in the day. Or like following rivers and following tracks. It's like this is how people used to like fight these kinds of battles and stuff, and like it was very gruesome
Yeah,
combat too.
it sounds like, you know,
Like
it was
the
very
average
barbaric.
yeah, like the average Roman soldier would carry like 60 pounds of stuff and march like 20 miles during the day and like 10 miles at night.
20 legions.
Like 30,
Yeah.
yeah, like 30 miles of just these Romans marching with all their stuff. And they'd have scouts running ahead, and they'd have messengers, and it's like, dude, it's just crazy that that was like something that happened, and it was realistically only like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, it was a crazy
It's
time
a
to
short
be
period of
alive for
time.
sure.
That's like only
It's
20
very dominant
generations.
force. Yeah, when you put it that way, it's pretty
Well,
wacky. I
20
mean,
to 30, because realistically, people only lived until they were like 50 or whatever. That's kind of whack too. But yeah, that was another one
mm,
I watched. That one was pretty neat. Um,
but the crime ones are very popular
oh, super
uh,
popular.
with women especially. I
Yeah, why? What's up? What's
almost
up
like
with
a
that?
meme.
I know.
I
It's like,
don't
oh my
know.
god, like he murdered her. That's hot.
Dude, Ted Bundy. It's people love
dude, the women
killers.
love Ted Bundy, bro. Ted Bundy's kind of a hottie, though.
How he's not. He's like a really kind of creepy looking guy.
Dude, he had curly. He had like the curly hair, dude. Girls are so into that for some reason, you know.
Yeah,
He had that
you know what?
charisma. He had that
He was
killer
hot.
look, you know. He had that killer, the killer stare.
Oh, he know how to cut right through you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, very popular with young people. The killer shows, true crime. Is that one of them? Or is that like a TV
Yeah,
show?
I
Oh
think
no.
so. I don't know. That might be a TV show. There's so many murder podcasts. Like literally, there's so many. I made like a Hulu TV series about like only murders in the building, which is literally just like a murder podcast show. It's like the cast of characters like made a podcast about like murders happening in their building because they were like they
Although,
just want views or whatever.
yeah, it's like messed up or whatever. Like on the outside, it is probably pretty easy to zone out to and
Oh, for
achieve
sure.
that kind of. There's like kind of droning on and on about the story.
And he's like, he
It
stabbed
has
her
like a
and stabbed her, and then he chopped her up into pieces and put her under the floorboards, and then he would always like sleep in her dresses, and people like love that shit. I'm like, dude, that's so creepy. Like, how can
yeah,
you
it
just
is
like?
creepy.
It's just that human fascination with like death and gore. It just has always been a
But
thing, dude.
the stories are, they're probably pretty repetitive and like predictable in a way that it is probably enjoyable to listen
True.
to them
It's
over
like,
over and over
well,
again.
yeah, what happens when someone gets stabbed? They die.
No,
Maybe they
they
don't
do.
sometimes. Someone gets shot with a gun in
Yeah,
the head, yeah, they're dead. Yeah. It's like, oh, yep, they're dead. Yeah. It's inevitability. It's an inevitability for all of us.
really just
Unless you're Jeff
that we're gonna
Bezos.
get dying. You're saying
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is gonna
he,
find a way,
he,
dude.
he,
He's
he's
gonna
gonna
go back to fetal form.
cryogenically freeze.
He's gonna go back to fetal form and rebirth himself as Bezos too.
If he if he can't do that, then I'm sad. Like
Dude, really though,
that
he like one of these
he should
billionaires
be
has
able
to
to do
do
that.
like him or Zuckerberg, dude. One of these billionaires has to be like crazy and like evil enough to do this, like cartoon evil. Like imagine Zuckerberg just like, yeah, like I'm gonna send everyone to the virtual world so no one wants to leave, and then I'll upload myself virtually and I'll never die into the metaverse.
And
And
then
then
yeah,
he
you,
can
you
and
go
then
in
I
there.
can take care of my Farmville animals forever.
Yeah, I just all that's so wacky, man. The commercials, like there's
Dude,
commercials like leave reality,
dude, did you see like the
leave your shitty
images,
life.
like the images of like what their metaverse like avatars look like?
Well, it's like Zuckerberg with the huge head.
Oh,
Like
dude, it's
yeah, just
awful. It's
looks.
so bad. He looks like a doll. Like they're spending millions of dollars on this shit, and look at this, dude. This looks like a terrifying me, like from.
I did see that one too. I saw one. I was like a dude like he like coded or whatever. I don't know anything really about that,
Yeah,
but he like made like a way better like
dude, he
ad
still
for
looks
that.
creepy though.
Yeah,
But yeah, dude, yeah, look up for people watching Metaverse Avatar Zuckerberg, dude, you will not be disappointed. He looks like it's terrifying. It's awful.
but
Um,
if he gave himself like a six pack or something,
well, yeah, you can. It's a metaverse, dude. You know, he could give himself tickle bitties. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, dude, anime. He can do whatever the hell he
Yeah, he could be an
wants,
anime girl. Oh, guys. I wanna be a 12-year-old anime girl in my metaverse video game.
bro. She's not 12. She's actually 200 years old. So
That's the classic trope, dude. That's how the Japanese get away with it. And then that's how they fucking get away with it. Oh, she's an eternal god, so.
she's a vampire, bro. That's
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
she's a vampire. Yep. But yeah, dude. Two other podcasts that I saw recently that I've been actually like following a little bit. Critical Role, which is like a Twitch. Like I used to watch their Twitch
Yeah,
streams back in late high school. And then I got kind of back into it when I was like the summer between my junior and senior year of college, because they were like in between campaigns, because I'd never like listened to them like start a campaign before, which would be kind of interesting because then you'd have like the full concept of the characters and you just keep up with it
Is
like
it
weekly or
is it
bi-weekly.
entertaining?
I
Like
think it's
is
super
that
entertaining, and it's mainly because like they play Dungeons and Dragons, but they're all actors. So they're just like really like into it. Like really,
is it like
really into it.
is it kind of is it edited? Like do they or is it just like a completely unedited like
It's
session?
very unedited, but I mean they stay in character like pretty much the whole time and then just take a short break in the middle of it. I mean they do it live, right? Like it's like a show for them.
Oh,
Matt
okay.
Mercer is like he's the DM. He's incredible. He's like the best DM you
Yeah,
could
I
possibly
know
have.
like that it is like the best like
He's a great
show D
storyteller.
and D.
Yeah, he's really cool and he does so many fun voices. Like that's the thing is that they all do great voices and they all come up with really interesting concepts for all their characters. Um like one of the guys just decided to be a robot this year, which I thought was super funny. So he just like has a gas can when he wants to drink water, which I think is the funniest shit. Like he'll just take out a gas can and start drinking water and be like, "Oh man, I need some oil." It's so funny.
So yeah, kind of inconvenient, but
Yeah.
the meme, yeah, it's
It's
funny.
for the meme, yeah. And it's like and they all have a good time and they're all just like I don't know. I just think it's kind of a neat concept. It's not for everyone, but it's like really easy to listen to in the background. Like I did it while doing homework a lot cuz I'd just get like bored sitting around for
Sure.
hours doing homework. So, that's kind of how long my homework took in college. Sad.
Hours.
Hours. Um but then there's
I just like
also
sat down and blitzed through it.
yeah, but there's also like a really new popular format that caught on about 2, 3 years ago, where it's just like for fans. They just make fan podcasts. Like celebrities are doing podcasts now because they're popular enough. Like I know one of
Hmm.
them that came out recently is like Pam and what's the blonde from The Office? Angela.
Angela.
Pam and Angela. They're actresses did like they're doing a podcast. Like Kevin from The Office is doing a podcast too. Like they're just like rewatching all their episodes and like talking about little tidbits
Yeah, I
about like
did
the
see
show.
that. Yeah,
Like there's another
I
one
want to
I
watch
think
more of that.
for like there's a bunch of them. Like there's so many. Like I think they did it with the two guys from Scrubs are doing one. I think they did one. They might be doing one for Friends now soon. I've heard something about that. It's in the works. It's like crazy. It's like celebrities are doing them just talk about like their shows. And I actually kind of caught on to one of them because I always used to watch It's Always Sunny, and I'd always wonder like how they got away with making some of these episodes or where the hell they came up with some of their concepts. Now they have a
Dude,
podcast where that's all they talk about.
can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
So, was it like 2 weekends ago? I had never watched a second of Always Sunny,
Oh, really?
and like I think maybe you said something, or I just knew it was something that I wanted to watch eventually. So yeah, I got a little blazed and then watched it from episode one. And episode
Episode
one,
one
as you know, is just like completely took
is
me off guard.
dude,
It was
the
so
whole
funny. It was
first season
crazy.
is very different from the rest of the show. It's almost worth skipping to like a random episode like season 5. Like the
Yeah,
first
it's
two
not something
seasons
you
are
need to.
very interesting. They're
Sure.
really different compared to the rest of the show. Like season 3 beyond, like the end of season 2 and 3 beyond is like what the actual show is. They were still finding their footing in the first two seasons, but it's still
I mean,
funny.
Danny DeVito is not even there for the early bit of
No,
season one, if I
he's not.
remember correctly.
I
So
think all of season 1 maybe.
it's not even worth watching, as
What
far as
was what
I'm
was the
concerned.
first episode about again? Humor me. It's really bad.
Oh, the gang gets racist,
Yeah, the gang gets
and it's like
racist.
the promoter, I think, and like he turns him into a gay bar,
Yep.
and it's just a whole lot of nonsense around that.
Yep. I mean, the whole concept of that show is that they were like, we're going to push this shit as far as we can. So the producers just did not care about them at all. So they were just like, can we get canceled, basically? Never
Maybe it
did.
got canceled in the early 2000s or whenever that,
I
the
mean, yeah,
90s.
I
I
mean,
think
South
that
Park had a similar model, but I mean, that worked somehow a lot better because it was like
their
keeping it
cartoons.
away from reality, right? It was like away from reality, but I mean, Always Sunny really tries to ground itself sometimes, which makes it so funny. Yeah, so they
Yeah, I think
like
when I
talk about,
watched more of it,
so yeah,
it's
they talk
funny.
about like all the random like concepts for shows that they came up with, and just like random stuff that happened during episodes. Like a lot of the like random jokes that Charlie has was just Charlie Day who was just being himself, and then he just like came up with some really funny shit randomly, and then just wrote it down and brought it to the writers' table. Um, Other times, so they have like direct inspirations. Like they wanted to do a modeling episode because Mac and Dennis is like actors. They were it was like I'm forgetting their names. Glenn Howerton and I'm totally forgetting his name, but they
I don't
basically
know.
were like, oh, I think it's wait, Rob McKinley or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, Glenn Howerton and Rob McKinley, they were like, oh, like let's do a show about like models or something because it's kind of a ridiculous world because they were huge fans of America's Next Top Model, which I think is so funny. With Tyra Banks, you know that show, Matt?
Vaguely.
Dude, I used to
Can't say
watch that
I've
with
ever watched
my
it.
sister as a kid. Dude, it's actually really funny when he'd be like, "Oh wow, like this is." So that directly inspired an episode where uh they it was what Frank's Beauties or something like that. They hold the child pageant at the bar. And the whole joke the whole time is that they're all just really creepy. And then it turns out like the judge for the whole thing was like a sex offender. You know, it's just
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yep, it's pretty in character. Yeah. But
That's
I
funny.
mean like another one that they talked about more recently was they had an episode in like '07 about like the gas crisis. Wait, and so they were like they became
Very topical.
door to door gas salesmen. They like sold gasoline out of a trash can. and and they said that they were like, you know, it's kind of funny because it's topical now because of the gas crisis that's happening right now. They're like, this show really like they're like they keep talking about it, but it's true. Like the show hasn't really aged, which they are like almost kind of have a problem with because they're like, you know, we figured people would eventually move on from some of this stuff, but it's all still a problem.
The longest running, continuously running sitcom, if I'm not
It might be,
mistaken.
which would be crazy. I mean,
Despite
it was
its,
super cheap to run. They always tried to get
yeah,
really cheap cameras because they thought it adds to the effect of the show, which I totally agree
no, it
with.
100% does. That's the same thing with Trailer Park Boys, like one of my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah,
shows
dude, that
of
show is
all time.
great. Dude, that dude, who's your favorite
Yeah,
character in that show in Trailer Park Boys?
probably like Mr. Leahy.
You
He's
like
very
Mr.
you know,
Leahy, the fucking alcoholic? Mr. Leahy's great.
he's like always up to something. Always scheming.
Oh man. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Bubbles, obviously, like,
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he's
oh
a big
dang it,
favorite.
guys! Oh dear,
The
you know
good,
he's got.
good.
Oh, I'm trying to set up my cat, get away! And then
It's like an
what
average
was the
sentence.
guy
Yeah,
with black hair though? I'm totally blanking on his name.
Julian.
Dude, Julian is
But
probably my
yeah,
favorite though. Julian is so funny. I don't know. I think it's so funny that he's got the running gag where he's like always got a drink in his hand. And it's
yeah.
always
I
like
mean,
half melted and he's always drinking like drinking something.
Coke or whatever. But he it's probably my least favorite, just because
Really?
it's kind of repetitive. Like he's always doing the same thing, but who's always doing the same thing that is funny still is Randy. You know,
Okay, yeah.
he's like very one dimensional, but it's kind of never gets old for me. And that's the kind of body image I want to have eventually.
Oh yeah.
That dad bod, you know.
That fat stomach. He used to be a porn star, you know.
Yeah,
It's
But
Mr. Leahy would say all the time, and he'd eat popsicles so sensually.
yeah, yeah, they had their fun for sure. But when you were saying we were talking about how celebrities um maybe are bringing back podcasts to bring back some of their fame or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like when people even just get a bit of fame, they're like dropping podcasts like flies now. Like
Mhm.
Kyle Rittenhouse has a podcast,
Oh
or
God.
did at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's just kind of the thing to do nowadays.
Dude, like, oh, I forgot another one. Will Ferrell has one where he just talks as Ron Burgundy the whole time.
I did see
The
that
Ron Burgundy podcast.
because
I think that's a
I
great idea. That's super creative.
I got around to watching Anchorman for the first time.
You've
I
never
know.
seen it,
I just never got around to seeing it. I did. I
dude.
got around to watching it
Dude,
this
that's like a
weekend.
phenomenal movie.
I know it did kind of like
I
change my
love the
life.
flute scene. The flute scene is just incredible. The flute
I
solo scene.
because you're thinking that he is gonna suck or
Mhm.
whatever, but then he's like, yeah, he's like
The giant
the
news
facial
brawl.
motions.
The news brawl is great too, and Brick brings like a fucking like mace or something to the like a medieval weapon, right?
They all got like swords and shit, like
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god.
guns, and
Brick
like
is iconic in that. Like they got such a
10
great
people
cast for
die.
that. Paul Rudd. Paul
But
Rudd's got he's got like
100%.
I was trying to I forgot he had like a specific cologne. It was like made out of jaguar tears or something like
It
that.
was, yeah, exactly. It was like I believe it was Sex Panther.
Sex
Was the,
Panther.
was the
Yeah.
name of it. And it just made like everyone like throw up.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene that I've like rewatched like probably 100 times since the weekend is the sequence of the afternoon delight that they put on.
Oh my
It
god.
was just very
Uh, Afternoon
choral.
delight. Boop. Afternoon delight. Boop. Yeah.
It was like
Iconic.
very pleasing to the ears. The harmonies there were like pull off.
Second one wasn't nearly as good. It just felt like it was just trying to be the first one again. You know, the first one was just that good.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard a pretty similar thing. I don't know if I'll get around to watching it
Yeah.
because another thing that I did watch last weekend is Full Metal Jacket,
Oh, that's a
and
completely different kind of
I
movie, dude.
know,
Jesus.
and I kind of been down a Stanley Kubrick rabbit hole lately.
Oh, you have been. Yeah, what of his movies have you not seen?
Probably like a good majority of them. I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
The only one that I
I've
had
seen the
seen
majority of
prior,
Kubrick's films.
the only one I had seen prior was Clockwork Orange. Probably like another, but that was just like the main one that I knew going into it. Yeah, then I watched a couple of those early ones.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good,
Let's
very good.
see. Which ones have I seen? I've seen. Yeah.
I just watched The Killing. I finished it up last night.
The Killing. I
Pretty
haven't
sure
seen
like
that one. That one's an older one. That one I gotta
yeah, like
see.
58. It
Yeah.
was very good.
Yeah. I've seen Paths of Glory. That one's great. Doctor Strangelove,
It was good.
iconic. I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Oh yeah, I
Clockwork
saw it too.
Orange. I've seen The Shining, Full Metal
Oh,
Jacket,
obviously.
and Eyes Wide Shut. The one that I really still need to see is Lolita. I know a lot of people really like Lolita.
Hmm.
I don't even know what that movie's about, but I that's kind of like part of the fun, I guess, of
Was it
stepping
a
into a
book?
movie.
Was it
I think
like a
it was
book
a
or
book.
something?
You know, you might be right.
Let's remember from Scholastic Bowl. Sometimes that
Lolita.
was an answer.
Lolita. Dude, the one that I always remember as an answer was was oh my god, what? Dude, I'm blanking on it now. I was making fun of it all of senior year.
Beethoven's first,
Oh,
or
dude,
that
no.
Russian Tchaikovsky.
Mm-mm,
You
mm-mm.
get pretty far just Tchaikovsky.
Rip Van Winkle. The greatest
Yeah,
piece of Americana in history. Rip Van Winkle. A man from pre-Revolutionary War America meets some dwarves at a tavern leaves with them, and then gets so drunk that he falls asleep for like 30 years, and then he wakes up and goes back to the same tavern and finds out that they'd been freed by the British. Oh, it's just like his name is Rip Van Winkle though, like Rip Van Winkle. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
rip.
rest in
Yeah.
peace, Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle, dude. He's dead now.
See, Van Winkle sounds more like a name than just Van Winkle.
Dude, Rip Van Winkle, man. It's just such a dumb name, dude. How can anyone take that shit seriously? I mean, I guess it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously,
I
but
guess they ate that shit up.
dude, yeah, bro. People are like, oh, fuck yeah, man. Oh, Rip Van Winkle. Oh, fuck. Dude, Thomas Paine?
The-
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Oh, I'm gonna eat that fucking free pamphlet, dude. Oh, fuck. Fuck yes, dude. Uh, the
all about
almanac,
it.
the almanac. Ben
Oh
Franklin made an
yeah, Fred
almanac.
Franklin's almanac.
You know what I'm saying?
And I killed him. Is that what's happening there?
All right. Anyways, um, you know,
Yeah, yeah. But something that I wanted to talk about too, real quick, is something that I've been doing on a pretty much daily basis. That is not a podcast, but something that I recommend for you. And I think I did mention it. In some of my music suggestions that I've been sending you, I listened
are you
to
slip and slide?
the Daily Random. No,
Oh,
no, the Daily Random playlist that I listen to on Spotify.
wow. I have never listened.
30 random songs from like the billions that Spotify has,
Wow, that's pretty neat. It's
and
just is it curated for everyone the same way?
yeah, it's just like an algorithm that just picks like 30 songs. It's not like by Spotify; it's just like a dude.
That's
There's
pretty
probably
neat.
like many playlists with the same concept. But yeah, the one I listen to is the Daily Random, and yeah, most of them are like poop. Sometimes there's like
Most of them are
heads
poop.
bop, so like just like not good music objectively most of the time, but occasionally you get heaters. I'd say there's probably
Occasionally.
like one or two of the 30 that like kind of I like and kind of look into their music a little bit more. One of them was that song that I recently sent you.
Oh, dude,
That
yeah,
had
that one
that
was
good hook that you
fire.
like.
That one was fire, dude. I loved the hook on that song. It was so dissonant and like, but so poppy at the same time. It was like,
I know it was like exactly. Damn, how many times have you listened to it,
dude, I
bro?
listened to it a few times. That's why I like it when people
Yeah,
send me music suggestions, because typically I like to say that my friends have great taste in music, except one.
I would agree. I
Except
suppose.
one. Except sometimes I think he has amazing taste. It's like it's literal hit or miss with me at this point.
And who is this,
Jason. Jason,
Jason?
if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, you know. It's either like I absolutely like adore the song that he's playing, or I'm like, bruh. Like I'm like, bruh.
But he has a very unapologetic taste in music.
He
He
does. He's
knows what
like,
he
you're gonna
likes,
listen to my slash style dad rock in my emo pop punk.
and he knows what he likes, and yeah,
He knows
he
what he
just goes
likes,
for it.
and then he's got to open his eyes up a little bit. He's slowly doing it. He's getting more. He got more into Eminem, and I'm like, that's the whitest rapper possible, dude. But hey, at least you
Very
and
talented.
yeah. But he's like, oh, I like Dre's style, so he told me that he's listening to more Dre produced people. I'm like, okay, that's good. Dre's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, but I wanted to give a shout out to that group
I'm gonna say what was it called
or
again?
that person. Yeah, you too. Is
Yeah, you
the
too.
name. And I was just like kind of trying to find them on like other platforms. They have like a SoundCloud, but they're like Japanese producer, writer, musician,
Mhm.
DJ. But yeah, I've been jamming to their stuff lately. Some of it is a pretty experimental, but there are some that have a very kind of poppy feel to it, and yeah, goes hard, goes
That's pretty
hard.
neat. Yeah.
But yeah, should be into it for
Beep
sample
bop,
purposes,
beep blorp, beep
especially
blorp
if
blop.
you are trying to get into. Yeah,
Sorry, you were cutting
I
out. I was
mean, I
just
don't.
making robot sounds too.
Oh, I was kind of that.
Yeah, a little bit. It's
Where
okay
did
now
where
though.
did you lose me at?
For just a minute, you were talking about something. I couldn't really tell. So
I
whatever you said
said,
like 30 seconds ago.
yes, that I think you should check out the random thing because it'll be good for your
You
samples.
should
I don't
link
know
it
how
at the
much time you've
bottom.
had
Oh, that's
to.
actually a great idea. I'm always looking for new samples because all the sample ideas I have, if I ever released it legitimately, yeah, I'd get sued. Obviously only if the song got over like 10,000 plays, but yeah, a man can dream, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly know the legality of that stuff.
yeah.
Would you really get sued if you like just take like 5 seconds of a song and like play it backwards and like
Oh,
flip it
if
upside
I
down and
distorted it beyond beyond recognition, yeah, they'll never find out.
hmm
Unless I
hmm
got like a million plays, then someone will find out, and then you get sued.
then you just take it down real quick
True.
and then go off the grid.
Off the
But yeah, I
grid,
don't know how much time
grid,
you've had
grid,
to
grid.
grid. Um, Not sure how much time you've had to produce new stuff if you've been busy with you and Cyrus's project,
Oh,
but
dude, yeah, no, I'm
just an
working on the
idea.
masters at this point. Honestly, I'm mastering a lot. There's still like two other songs in the works. One of which I gotta get you and a bunch of other people on. The summertime remix, dude.
Really?
The summertime
I'm gonna get a
remix.
verse in it.
Huh?
I'm gonna get a verse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to put as many people on this song as humanly possible. Like if it's like like it'll be at the end of the album, it'll be like 8 minutes long.
Just 8 minutes, bro. If we're talking like 100
Okay,
people, let's
okay.
get
You
everybody.
never know. Maybe I'll meet someone at a bar and be like, "Yo, dude, you got a verse? So just record it in the bar."
Like we gotta get your dog on the track. We
Oh, dude,
gotta.
yeah. I'll sample my dog. I'll get my brother on the track. My brother and I are probably gonna do a track pretty soon here. We just need to produce it
Yeah,
together. He told me he wants me to sample the guitar solo from the Flock of Seagulls song, I Ran So Far Away. I'm gonna totally do that. That'd be a great sample.
very atmospheric. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And
Maybe I'll
I
work on that when I'm done
ran.
here. Honestly. I'm inspired now.
Go
Okay.
for it, my guy.
Well, this is typically the length of our episodes now, I believe. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I
we
just
talked for a solid
wanna.
chunk of time, solid chunk of change.
Yeah, just time flies by when you're having fun.
True.
With my boy AJ.
My boy Pork Chop.
As pork chop and AJ.
The Adventures of Pork
um,
Chop and AJ, dude.
but I do want to talk about music. I do want to get that album cover idea going.
For what?
We talked about funny album covers.
Oh, we should do that for the next episode. Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be super fun.
Yeah, yeah, tease that idea. If
Yeah, yeah, man, for like the next week or however like 5 days, however long like we decide to wait until our next podcast, just scroll through your albums that you've liked in Spotify or just
oh,
look some up
I
and just
have been.
oh, you have been?
I've been on this, and the daily randoms. The Eastern Europeans know how to
Oh
make
yeah.
a bad quality album. That's so funny.
Yeah, and I think it's even better when something has a terrible album cover, but it's like a
Oh,
great album.
exactly. So yeah, that's an idea that we could definitely
We'll
maybe
have
like
to link
tease
images
and yeah.
to all of the album covers in the description probably, or link all of them to
Well,
their Spotify in the
yeah,
description.
we can talk more about the specifics later,
Yeah.
but let's sign
You
off on
should
this
link
episode on that.
that in the description. We should start doing that. Link that Spotify playlist that gets randomized every day. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, could put some people on that.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, we can sign off on this episode.
Sounds good. It was a
Hey, take
pleasure
care,
speaking with
everybody.
you. Yeah, everyone have a nice sleep, have a nice wake up, have a nice birth, have a nice death. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Peace.